How are you?
Rachel!
Rachel! I'm watching the clock because as I was telling my friend Joe, who was talking so nicely about God before, right? I forgot my Shabbos watch, which should let you know a little bit about me to start. Or maybe not. Shabbos is a Jew thing, and what it is it's called Sabbath in English, and sometimes what we do is we turn off everything, kind of like Seventh-day Adventists, and from Friday, that was a callback. We turn off everything on Friday, and then it's also Saturday, and sometimes I'm good, and sometimes I'm not so good, but I have a Shabbos watch, so if I go wander off somewhere, I know what time it is when I come back. I started wearing it when I was living in Israel last year, and I would go to the wall and the Shabbos, and like you lose a lot of sense of time at the Western Wall. It's really powerful. Even if you're just like a total skeptic and you think God sucks and you don't believe in God at all, and it makes you super mad, you still could feel a lot of power at that wall, I think. Like, it's just undeniably an interesting archaeological site. At the very least, trying to talk about God for me is super intense. Because I'm totally into God, like, so much, it actually turns me on, like, how I feel about God really excites me all the time. I think about God all the time, and at the same time, I'm a total skeptic, cynic, and when I see the word God written in weird places, I get turned off, probably like most of you guys do. You know, you're like looking at, I don't know, a real estate ad, and it says something about praising the Lord in there, and you're like, that person isn't on the same page as me. Like, I have that same gut response, and yet I'm crazy for God. So I was thinking about, when did I first understand God in any sort of context, like really going back into my childhood? And probably like most of you, it was an experience I had I was at my grandparents' house. It was like winter time, so we were visiting my dad's father, my grandfather, and I was in the bathroom. And my dad is one of 4 sons. I feel like that's important for what's coming next, because I can't assign ownership. I don't know whose these were, but in the bathroom in my grandparents' house was like a huge stack of Playboys. So I would sit and I would look at the naked ladies. They had pubic hair. It was amazing. I remember the good old days of 70s porn, and women still have pubic hair. That doesn't have anything to do with God, but it feels important in the story. But I remember I was looking at this one centerfold it was a big stack. It was like a towel cabinet next to the toilet, right? And it was probably like I don't know, 4 sons, my grandpa, I don't know whose. But one of the ladies, it was a pretty blonde lady, and she was laying in like, I don't know, kind of hay bales maybe, like a pharmacy. And I don't know, do any of you, like, you want to admit to reading Playboy, anyone? So you know, I don't think they'll do this anymore, but in the centerfold, they have like a survey, like they ask the girls a bunch of questions, you know. Guys, you got it. So, and they have them like fill it out in their own handwriting, and you can see there's probably little hearts on the eyes or whatever the flavor is, you know. So they ask them, what's your religion? Like that was like a regular question. I went through a lot of centerfolds. Standard form question. And this one girl was like, it was the 70s. My religion is nature, because like, why worship the church when I can just go worship the tree, which is like a basic Buddhist teaching. Who knows? She probably was at like a Hare Krishna lunch, or who knows where she picked it up. But that was like my first contextualization of God, because my parents were total atheists. Although they're Jewish and super culturally and ethnically identify as Jews, they just think the whole God thing is a racket. And probably it's for the best for me, because I don't know, I could be like really out there without that balancing force brought into my life, because like I said, like God really turns me on, so it's hard to resist. But when I read that, I was like, God that's just my first context. I remember before that it was just like religion and bad and oppression, and it was always brought to my attention how religion like shoved women down. You know, I mean, it's cool how my parents raised me, I get it. And yet, God, like, turns me on so much. And, you know, the fact is I am Jewish, and the fact is that if you're alive and you know you're Jewish, just, again, believe in God or not, statistically, most scientists would say, even, I don't know, statisticians, who does this, what is that? I don't know what kind of science, math shit, I'm just trying to sound smart. But that is like a miracle, to even know you're a Jew after all the years of trying to annihilate us. It's kind of crazy that you even ended up with your parents admitting to being Jewish, and I'm sure that I see people all the time that are clearly Jewish with last names like Fishbein, and they tell me they're Catholic, and I'm like, oh, Spanish Inquisition, it was drag, I get it. And I just think, like, wow, I'm so blessed that I even know who I am, and like, how crazy must our ancestors have been, like some serious praying motherfuckers, right? To even that, like, in my DNA, somehow it, like, fought its way out and clawed out, like, my crazy Jewiness that just, like, manifested in arousal. And I was worried about it until I started researching. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Song of Songs. It's really sexy. It's really raunchy. It's by King Solomon. I mean, again, believe it or not, whatever, someone wrote it. It's around now. It's attributed to King Solomon. As you can see, it's very hard for me to even acknowledge how truly I believe in God, even as I'm getting excited up here talking about God, because it turns me on so much. But all I'm trying to say is that there is historical precedence, and there's a lot of people who, like, write about, like, this erotic love of God, and I too find it in dance, and I find it in anything where I can just be present in the now. And something about studying ancient Hebrew texts gets me off. I don't know what to tell you, but I wanted to share with you that, like, God is a really big turn on, and, like, God is beyond what we can comprehend, and, like, we're all fish, and God is just the water we're swimming in. So even if you don't want to think it's there, you're still swimming, right? So enjoy the swim with me, that's all.